everyone, Kelly here, and a couple weeks ago I posted a try a chapter video and everybody seemed to really like them. I asked if it would be okay if I did several of them over the next few months and everybody said that would be great. This is another one I'm going to be doing. So I'm doing several of these in the next few months because I'm trying to kind of get rid of some books that I don't really want to read anymore, but I want to give them a try before I get rid of them, since these are all books that I had purchased. And then so I have stuff to unhaul, but then also books that I might not be interested in as much anymore, but if I read a chapter and find out, oh, this actually sounds really good and I'm interested in it, it'll like actually get read. So a lot of these are books I've owned for a while and I just need renewed interest or to finally get rid of them. And I'm sorry, but I feel like the cicadas are really loud today, so if you hear that bug sound and if it's annoying you, I apologize. My kids are playing at the water table, so we're just doing this at the same time as they're playing. So first of all, I just want to say I got several comments in my other try a chapter video where people said they would like to have a follow-up to see if I ended up liking the books that I kept, and I am going to have a follow-up. I just figured I would do like 2 of these videos, read as many of the books and finish them as I want over the next few weeks, then give an update and then do a couple of the other try a chapter and update those. I've already finished one of the books from the first video and am halfway through another one, so I'm definitely on the way to be giving an update. I just thought it'd be better to have kind of an update on 2 of the videos instead of, because I only had 3 books that I kept from that last video. So I'll combine the ones I kept from the last video with the ones I kept this, try to finish them off and give you an update on how I felt about them. So the 5 books that I have for today are all books that were a part of my Keep, Read, and Unhaul project this year. So all of these are books I bought 2 years ago. And in my Keep, Read, Unhaul, you guys got to vote for books that I read or books I kept. And all of these were books that didn't get voted on. So they weren't like voted on to unhaul, but they weren't chosen for me to read. And there are ones that I'm like, when I looked at the list of books I had left from that project, these are the ones that I'm like unsure if I'm really interested in them anymore. And so I wanted to give them a chapter to see, and you know, maybe I'll end up getting rid of a lot of these, but we'll see. Maybe I'll get renewed interest. So there's quite a variety. There's a couple middle grade, a YA, and 2 adult books, some historical fiction, some contemporary. So let me show you what I have. So the first one is The Ethan I Was Before by Ali Standish, and this is a middle grade contemporary. And I don't really know like anything about that book. I just think I don't even know if I got recommended it or what. I don't even remember how I came across that one. And then I have A Mango Shaped Space by Wendy Mess, and this actually came very close to being the one that was chosen for my last my last TVR video where I had you vote on my final Keep, Read, Unhaul books. This one was like tied with the other middle grade one to be chosen, and then at the last minute somebody voted for The Last Kingdom of Bamar, so this one almost got read. So I thought that this would be a good one to try a chapter, and this is a middle grade contemporary, and that one I've heard recommended from several people. And then the YA book is The Darkest Hour by Caroline Tung Richmond. And this is a World War II historical fiction novel. So we'll try that one. And then I have Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This is historical fiction and adult historical fiction. And this is one that I hear like so many people praise it, but I also worry that it's gonna be boring. So I just wanted to give it a try and see if it's something that I would actually be interested in. And the last one is Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Carol Rifka Brunt. And this is a adult contemporary, but the main character is a child, a 14-year-old. So the main character is a teenager, but it is an adult book, contemporary. So I don't really know much about these books necessarily, so I want to give them a try. I'll come back when I have read one. All right, so I finished the prologue and the first chapter of Ethan I Was Before, and it was only about 8 pages, but it was enough that I think I want to keep going, and it didn't seem like I was going to get answers right away. So basically there was a lot of things mysterious at the beginning. So the prologue is Ethan going to his friend Casey's house and saying that Casey hasn't been there for 59 days, and he thinks he sees her inside, but it turns out to just be Casey's mom, and that's all we like see in the prologue. And the first chapter he talks about how they are moving to Georgia from Boston, and on the way down he's just kind of talking about the fact they're moving. Sorry, I got distracted by my kids, but so I'm trying to think of what I was saying. So it sounds like they moved because Ethan kept running away, and so they decided they had to move to where his grandfather lives, and that's all that has happened so far. But my big question is what happened to his friend Casey. It sounds like he was running away because he's trying to get to Casey, his best friend that, you know, who has been gone for 59 days. I don't know what happened to her. It doesn't really say in the description, so I think that's kind of the big mystery of the book, and I don't think that's going to tell me really soon. So I thought the prologue and the chapter 1 was enough to kind of find out that this is going to be kind of a slow revealing of what has happened in the past, and then him figuring out how to deal with whatever that was. So I'm interested. I want to give it some more time. Middle grade contemporary is not my favorite genre, but every once in a while one really hits me hard. So I think I'm willing to give this one another try and like actually try to finish it this time. All right. So I ended up reading the prologue and the first few pages of the first chapter of A Mango Shaped Heart. I'm trying to see, I think I read only about 4 pages of the first chapter. I just kind of wanted to see because it sounded like it skipped times. So in the prologue, our main character Mia is 8 years old, and she's talking about the first time she realized she was different. So she was in math class and writing the math problem on the board, and she put down the white chalk and started to put the numbers in different colors, and the teacher was saying, no, we're just going to use white, and she said, well, shouldn't they be the right colors? And she was saying that the numbers each had colors, and you know, all the kids started laughing at her, and the teacher thought she was playing a joke, and so she realized that other kids don't see numbers as colors. And then we move to the first chapter. She is now 13, and we're just kind of, the first 4 pages was just kind of getting us established in her life. So nothing was happening. It was just kind of establishing who her best friend is and her family members and stuff like that. And okay, so here's the thing. Nothing that I read the first 10 pages pulled me in or made me really want to read this. Like, I knew that this was about a girl who has, I believe, is it called synesthesia? Like, it doesn't show it on the book what that is called. If I'm wrong, I'll write it here, but that's what she has. And I want to read some reviews to see if Own Voices, whether this actually is, I know this book isn't Own Voices, so I wanted to see from Own Voices reviewers if that is a correct interpretation of this, I don't even know what it would be called, phenomenon or whatever. Okay, so I did end up looking up some reviews just now because I just wanted to make a decision, and it looks like it's a little mixed. That some people say that they felt like the representation was good, and then I saw some reviews from people that said that the representation was really bad in this book. So it seems like it's mixed, which often happens. But reading more of the reviews made me think that maybe I don't want to read this. I mean, the ones when they would talk about it being bad representation were pointing out that in the book they treat synesthesia as an illness or a defect or disability, and that's not really what it is. More I read about it, it is a neurological condition. I couldn't think of a word for that, and it just made it sound like this book takes, I just hit myself with it, takes a more depressing view of it and views it more as a problem in her life and all that, and like just something that is bad that she has to like overcome or something like that. So just from those reviews, I don't think I'm really interested in reading this book. It sounds like it just doesn't deal with the kind of things I like in middle grade contemporary. So yeah, I just wasn't really pulled in at the beginning, and after reading those reviews, I do not plan on keeping this book, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. I just, in general, I'm very picky about my middle grade contemporaries. I've discovered that about myself in the last year, and so it's silly to keep one that doesn't appeal to me. Like this one was drawing me in with this whole mystery aspect, and I have a feeling that it's going to end up dealing with either grief or guilt or things like that, which appeals to me more than like, you know, dealing with a condition and treating it like an illness and like it's something bad about yourself. Not sure that's what I want to read about, so I'm gonna get rid of this one. Alright, so I just read the first chapter of this. I actually kind of skimmed after the first couple pages because it was pretty obvious that I wasn't going to like this, but I thought I should try to commit to reading the chapter. But yeah, this is not good for me. So this is our main character is named Lucy, and we meet her in the first chapter, and she's dressed up like a nun, and she's in Paris in 1943. And she is a 16-year-old girl that has been hired to be a spy. And my kids are yelling. So she's dressed up like a nun so that she can infiltrate a church and kill this man who, I don't know if he's a priest or what. Like I said, I was skimming, but he has betrayed, he delivered some people to the Germans, so he has been sentenced to death, and she is supposed to go kill him. And it just seemed really ridiculous from the very beginning. It just felt very contrived, very, 16-year-old girl being hired as a spy, dressing as a nun. She encounters a group of Nazis in this and has to talk her way out of it and all that stuff. And yeah, the writing didn't seem very good either. There was a few typos, but then also just like sentence structure was just really bad. It has that like same kind of cocky, obnoxious sound that a lot of like these YA spy type books have, and not really interested. So yeah, I barely read that first chapter. Like I said, I skimmed through a lot of it and didn't enjoy it. So this one is going on the unhaul pile. Okay, so I finished the first chapter of Tell the Wolves I'm Home, and I am totally invested. This is why I love doing the try a chapter, because even from the very beginning, I didn't know a lot about this book, even when I bought it, and I don't think I was like fully invested. I'd heard a synopsis and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I heard somebody say they really enjoyed it, but like a lot of the reviews and stuff didn't really pull me in, and I just never got an urge to pick this up. And I don't know, just like reading the writing, I really enjoyed the writing. It really sucked me in, and I guess I should tell you what happened. So in our first chapter, we meet our main character, which now I've already forgotten her name because it's from her point of view. June. June. They didn't even say her name in the whole chapter. That's why I didn't know it. So June is our main character, who is 14 at the beginning, and she and her sister and her mother are visiting her uncle Finn, and her uncle is dying. So from the very first sentence, it says that they're there because he's dying, and he is painting their portrait as kind of his like final act with them. And so they're going there once a month to sit for him and get, her and her sister Greta are getting their portrait painted by Finn, who is dying of AIDS. And so every time they go to visit him, he is deteriorating more, and it's obviously close to his death. And June is just talking about what that makes her feel. Sounds like she's very close to her uncle and doesn't fully understand the disease and its effect on her uncle, but she sees what it's doing to his body, and like she just knows she's going to miss him and that he's going to die soon. And just the writing and like the feelings that were coming up about during these portrait sessions were just really hit me. Like I almost cried in this first chapter, like within 10 pages. Like it wasn't a long chapter, it was 10 pages, and just the way it was written was really touching. And so I'm definitely going to keep this. I think it's going to be a lot about grief and family and all that stuff, but the writing really pulled me in. Sorry, my kids are like very loud. But yeah, so this is one I'm definitely keeping, and I'm excited about reading this probably for the first time since I first heard it reviewed 2 years ago. So that's really exciting. I only have one book left, but I'm not going to do it right now. So the next time you see me, it'll probably be tomorrow. I'm probably going to read this tonight before bed, because when I looked at how long the first chapter was, it's like 30 pages. And I feel like this is the one I'm least excited about. So I really want to give it that full like 30 pages to see if maybe it'll pull me in. And I just don't have time before dinner to read a full 30 pages. So I'm going to read this before bed, and then I'm going to come back and tell you tomorrow my final thought about this first chapter and which ones I'm keeping and which ones I'm getting rid of, the final thing. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so like I said in the last clip, it's the next day and I have read the first chapter of Burial Rites, and I'm glad I took my time with it and just like went through it slowly to figure out if this is something I want to keep and keep reading. So overall, what this is about is this is a historical fiction book that takes place in Iceland in the 1820s, I believe. And this is based off of a true story. So it's, I believe, fictionalized off of a true story about a woman who is the last woman to have, last woman to be publicly beheaded in Iceland. So it's one of those books where you know going in how the ending is going to be because it's history, but I've just heard from a lot of reviews that the journey is really good, and like the atmosphere of being in Iceland in the 1820s and all that stuff is really good. So I wanted to give it a full chance with that first chapter, and the first chapter is 32 pages long. So I just really want to immerse myself, because it's not one, like as soon as I open it, I knew it was one I couldn't just like zoom through. So at the very beginning, it gives you a map of the area of Iceland with all of the like churches and farms and stuff in this rural area where this happened. So I took my time because I went back and forth through the whole chapter, going back to the map, making sure I really grounded myself into the location of where everything was. And also there's a section right before the map where she gives a note on how to pronounce Icelandic names and like how they're put together and all that stuff. So I just really made sure I took my time to like figure out the pronunciation of the names and feel comfortable with that, and the characters and all that stuff. So, and I also did some like Googling, because there are terms in here, like Icelandic terms that I didn't know. So I Googled those, and when I was Googling those, it came up with burial rites and some pictures that this author took while she was in this area of Iceland. So I was looking at those pictures to kind of like ground myself in what this area looks like. And obviously those are more current pictures, but the landscape hasn't changed much since this time. So it was just kind of nice to really feel grounded in the story. So I would say it took me about 2 hours to read those 32 pages, because I was just trying to make sure I grounded myself in this, because I felt like I had to read the first few pages more than once. So this wasn't the kind of book I could just jump in and just like sit down and read the first chapter in a few minutes and skim through it or whatever. Like I really needed to feel immersed. So after spending 2 hours immersed in that first chapter, do I think I want to continue this? And I'm going to say a hesitant yes, that I was interested in the atmosphere of this location of rural Iceland and this time period, and what's happening. And I actually didn't even tell you what happened in that first chapter. So, like I said, this is about a woman who is the last person to be beheaded. So in that first chapter, we are learning that this woman, Agnes, has committed murder. So she and 2 other people murdered 2 men, and they've been accused and they've been sentenced to be executed. But before they can be executed, the officials have to get the say-so from the Danish king. I need to look this up, but I guess at this time period, Iceland must have been under the rule of Denmark. That's what I'm guessing, because they have to like submit the request to the king personally to be able to carry out these executions. So it's going to take a little bit of time to wait for that execution order. And in the meantime, they need a place to keep the prisoners because they don't have a prison. This is like really small rural area. And so the commissioner in this first chapter goes to this family and says, this woman, Agnes, who murdered these men, is going to come and stay at your farm, and you're going to watch her and make sure she stays there and she can work your farm or whatever, work your household while she's waiting for her execution. And basically they have no choice but to say yes. And they're going to be compensated, but still, like, they're going to have a murderer living in their home and they have to watch her. And that's what we meet this family. The family is husband and wife, and then the 2 daughters. And we mainly in the first chapter are focused on the 2 daughters who are 20 and 21, because I think it's going to be kind of mainly their responsibility to take care of Agnes. And then we also have some times where we're following Agnes and seeing what she's feeling right now, and in this transfer and everything. And then we're also following a priest. They call him a priest or a reverend. I think they call him both names. So yeah, he's a reverend and associate reverend. Is that what he's called? Assistant reverend. So he's not a full reverend yet. And he has been chosen to be her spiritual guide, Agnes's spiritual guide, because I guess in this time and culture, this is another thing I'm going to be learning about, is that before somebody is executed, they are hoping that they will come to God and like ask for forgiveness before they're killed. So this assistant reverend has been chosen to be her spiritual guide in the time leading up to her execution. So basically this chapter is for 32 pages. We are learning about all those characters, including the district commissioner. So those are the main characters that I'm assuming that we're going to be following throughout the whole book. So we've learned all of those. We got, introduced to kind of the landscape of the area and what this plot is going to be about. I feel like this is going to be a very slow moving story, and kind of, not to say depressing, but very atmospheric and bleak. And I was interested, but it did read slow, even with all me like taking the time to really immerse myself and Google and do all this stuff. I do think this will be like a longer read. Like, this isn't going to be something I fly through. So that's why I'm saying a hesitant yes, but I am going to continue this book. I just don't know if this will be one of the ones that I talk about in my, like, when I come back and wrap up all the books I've read from the last 2 chapters. I don't know if I'll include this one because I might take a long time to read this and finish it. Like, I'm not going to zoom through it like some of the other ones. So you might not hear me review this one for a couple months, but I am going to keep this one and continue reading it and taking my time. And I think this will be a good one to like take my time to like learn more about what's happening at this time, and like I was like Googling terms that I don't know about and what's happening during this point in history, because I think that this will be a good one to learn a lot more from. So that means that of the 5 books, let me see if I can pick them up. Of the 5 books I read for this one, read the first chapter, I'm keeping Burial Rites, but taking my time to read that, so I probably won't be reviewing that soon. I'm going to keep Tell the Wolves I'm Home, and The Ethan I Was Before, and hopefully I can do a wrap-up of these 2 and the 3 from the last chapter soon, and kind of give you my thoughts about whether I ended up liking them. And then I'm going to unhaul 2 books from this one, A Mango-Shaped Space and The Darkest Hour. I just don't think that I really have interest in either of these anymore, especially after not really being pulled. Like, this one didn't pull me in at all in the first chapter and prologue, and this one just kind of annoyed me. I didn't even really make it through the full first chapter. So definitely do not want to keep those two. So that feels really good. Out of two try chapters, I've gotten rid of about 50% of the books and are excited to read about 50% of the books. So I hope that you are continuing to enjoy this series of videos, and I have to figure out how long it'll take me to finish these, if I'm going to, the next time you see a video from this group of videos, if it'll be the wrap up or if I'm going to do another try chapter. I'm going to try to like finish most of these books and give you the update before I do another one. I'm just like really excited to get rid of books, but I need to finish some of these before I start the chapters of some other ones. So that's all. If you have read any of these, the ones that I'm keeping, and let me know if you enjoyed them or what you thought of them. I'd love to hear from you down below, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.